Hello everyone, this is Sherwin here from TechOS, and today, before I get started, I just want to wish you all a happy 2016. I'm certainly looking forward to it and can't wait to see what Apple have to show us in this coming year. Now this video is inspired by Mike, otherwise known as the Detroit Borg, so do be sure to check out his YouTube channel, which I will link in the description of this video. Now in this video I'll be taking a look back at what we saw from Apple in 2015, and I'll be giving you my top 5 products, both hardware and software. Now in 2015 I only have the iPhone 6s Plus and are waiting to arrive iPad Pro, but I have tested all of the other Apple products that have launched in stores, so I will be able to give you my thoughts on each product. I've also watched all the product launch events that Apple have held, so I think this should help in coming to a conclusion of which are my personal top 5 products. Now, first though, let's recap what Apple launched this year, starting in March with the event tagged Spring Forward, which saw the launch of the Apple Watch, Apple's first entry into the smartwatch market. This product is advertised by Apple as a smartphone accessory to make your iPhone experience even richer, and is deeply integrated into the iOS ecosystem, with many applications made for the iPhone also possessing an Apple Watch counterpart, so essentially extending their functionality to your wrist. Now, the Apple Watch is also very good for viewing small snippets of information via glances, such as weather and messages and even your now playing music. Now, Apple Watch is also very strong in the fitness area and can measure your heart rate as well as many other health factors. Now, during this event, Apple also debuted the long-forgotten MacBook range, which was a very anticipated product. It features a 12-inch Retina display built into a design thinner than the MacBook Airs, and many new enhancements to the user experience, such as the new Force Touch trackpad, new butterfly keyboard mechanism, and a single USB Type-C port, as well as many new technologies to make this a brilliant notebook. This year, Apple released the all-new iPad Pro, which I've actually ordered and I'm waiting for it to arrive. The iPad Pro is Apple's most powerful iOS device, which contains a new A9X chip powering a very large 12.9-inch Retina display. It's actually like having two iPad Air-sized tablets next to each other in portrait mode, and this enables you to use iOS 9 split screen view as a really powerful way of working. It has 4 speakers, one on each corner, which really helps to create immersive sound. Apple also launched their new smart keyboard, which connects with 3 gold contacts on the side of the iPad to make typing even easier on the iPad Pro. They also launched a stylus type accessory called the Apple Pencil, which contains sensors which work with the iPad Pro to detect multiple levels of pressure when using drawing apps. So for example, you can sketch in the iOS 9 Notes app and press harder to get a darker, bolder stroke. The effect works very well, and you can also make use of the tilt sensors to produce some really interesting drawings. I also have an Apple Pencil in order, so stay tuned for coverage on that. Now, the iPad Mini 4 was very briefly talked about, which brought the iPad Mini up to speed with the better specs of the iPad Air 2. Next up, Apple launched the iPhone 6s and 6s Plus, which improves on the experience of the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus. A new pressure-sensitive 3D touch display makes navigation much quicker, allowing you to gain access to many shortcuts within apps from the home screen. You can also press lightly to peek at, for example, an email, then press even deeper to pop and fully open it. The camera has also been upgraded from 8 to 12 megapixels, which now allows for crispier photos and 4K video recording. There's also live photos, which basically converts your photos into small 3-second GIF type files. It does this by capturing 1.5 seconds before and after you press the shutter, and then you can play back the GIF by 3D touching it when viewing it in your photo library. The front-facing flash also receives an upgrade from 1.2 megapixels to 5 megapixels and incorporates a new Retina flash, which uses the screen as a two-tone flash. The iPhone 6s has the A9 chip, which makes an incredibly fast device, and having 2GB of RAM instead of 1GB makes the iOS experience even smoother. The M9 coprocessor has a new always-on feature, which lets you activate the Hey Siri feature without being plugged into power. The iPhone 6s is also made of a new 7000 series aluminium, which is much stronger than the iPhone 6's aluminium, and there is also a new rose gold colour which joins the lineup. Apple also quietly updated the iPod Touch lineup, giving it the same specs as the iPhone 6, whilst retaining the incredibly compact form factor. They also changed the lineup of colours, which are now gold, silver, space grey, blue and pink. The iPod Nano and Shuffle were also updated to include the new colours. The last thing Apple launched was 4th generation Apple TV. This new Apple TV introduces tvOS, which is the new operating system which runs on it, as well as the ability for third-party developers to create apps and games that can run natively on the device. There's a new redesigned remote which uses the top portion as a trackpad-like input method, allowing users to navigate tvOS in a much easier way. The Apple TV 4th generation also adds Siri search functionality, which is activated via a button on the new remote. You can use Siri to search for content on the iTunes Store and also to fine-tune your results. In terms of software last year, Apple launched OS X 10.11 El Capitan. Now this adds many performance improvements to OS X as well as battery saving enhancements. Some of the new features include a split screen view, enhancements to Spotlight search and some more full screen functionality in Mail, as well as features like pin tabs and smart audio management tools in Safari. iOS 9 also made its way onto the iPhone, iPad and iPod Touch, bringing many improvements to Siri, such as the ability to recognise only your voice when commanding Hey Siri, and a new way of using Spotlight search. The Notes app was also updated to bring sketching and more options when formatting text. An Add to Notes extension was added to the share sheet. Notes are now easier than ever to organise, as you can now use folders. These new features have also been added to the Notes app in OS X El Capitan. There's a new low power mode and many other features. However, what Apple did with iOS on the iPad was probably the most interesting. Apple have now added true side-by-side multitasking, allowing 2 compatible apps to run simultaneously. This feature is available on the iPad Pro, iPad Air 2 and iPad Mini 4. Notification Center on the iPad also receives a slight redesign, as now when you're in landscape mode you can see more on the screen at once. watchOS 2 was also announced less than 6 months after the Apple Watch went on sale. It speeds up performance greatly by allowing apps to run natively on the device instead of being mirrored from the iPhone. New wallpapers were added, as well as the ability to add a time-lapse as your watch face. There's also now a time travel feature which lets you view upcoming calendar events and weather forecasts by turning the digital crown whilst on the watch face. You can also use your Apple Watch as a night clock now. If you turn it into landscape mode and rest it on a bedside table, it automatically changes the screen to display the time, and you can use the digital crown to turn off your alarm when it goes off. 2015 was also the year of Apple Music, which is Apple's version of a music streaming service. It has all of the music available on iTunes and more, with many Apple Music exclusives. There's also Beats One Radio, which is a live 24/7 streaming music station headed by former BBC DJ Zane Lowe. There's also a connected feature, which is essentially a small social network for artists to connect more closely with their fans. Now, before I get to my personal top 5 out of all of these, I have to talk about some of the unannounced Apple products from 2015, of which there were many. Firstly, we had the new 21.5-inch iMac, which incorporated a stunning 4K Retina display, making it a nice option for people who don't have the space for a 27-inch 5K iMac, but who still want the high resolution. Then there were the new aluminium lightning docks for the iPhone, which were made to match the colours of the new iPhone 6s. There was also the Magic Mouse 2, which eliminated the need for a removable battery in place for a rechargeable one, which lets you power it with a lightning cable. There was also a new Magic Trackpad 2, which now incorporates the same Force Touch technology as the new MacBook, and a rechargeable battery like the Magic Mouse 2. Apple also added the Magic Keyboard to the lineup, which has a rechargeable battery, and the new butterfly keyboard mechanism found in the early 2015 MacBook. Finally, there was the smart battery case for the iPhone 6s, which is designed to make the smaller iPhone's battery match the same battery life of the larger sibling. It gives double the charge and is very much the same as the other cases that Apple do, as this is also made of a silicon-type material. Now I'm going to talk about my favourite products, starting at number 5, which is actually the new Apple TV. Now this year, Apple have made some very big improvements to the Apple TV, and they all add up to make a very nice experience. The touchpad on the new remote is very responsive, and there's no lag at all when scrolling. The vast range of apps makes it ideal for anyone who already has an iOS device, and even more ideal if you have lots of iTunes Store content. The Siri voice recognition works very accurately, and one very cool feature is lets you temporarily rewind playback with closed captions is extremely useful. For number 4, I've chosen OS X El Capitan. Now, as the operating system that I use for long periods of time during the day, I need it to be easy to use but at the same time very powerful. The new split screen view is very useful for me, especially with me making my videos and working on other projects, as I can be working in a much quicker way. For example, having my video note on one side of the screen whilst recording audio for a voiceover on the other half, which is in fact what I'm doing right now. The new Spotlight search features make finding files very easy, and managing my email is much easier with the new enhancements to full screen usage. You can check out all my videos on OS X El Capitan in the description of this video. At number 3 comes iOS 9. Now iOS 8 was a significant upgrade, but required a very large 6GB of free space to download, making the upgrade slightly annoying for users of 16GB devices. Now iOS 9 solves all this, as it takes no more than 1.5 gigs to download. The revamped Notes app is very useful, as it is on OS X El Capitan. Maps has added transit directions on both OS X and iOS, and Spotlight Search is so much more powerful, and iPad split screen multitasking is very handy and makes the iPad even better when it comes to productivity. A link to all my iOS 9 videos will be in the description of this video. For number 2, I'm choosing the iPhone 6s, and more specifically for me, the iPhone 6s Plus, which is one of the many Apple products launched this year that I actually own. The performance of this phone is right at the top with something like the iPad Air 2, and the improvements to the camera mean that I can now shoot all of my YouTube videos in 4K. Live photos work very well, and I especially love how it's possible to set a live photo as a wallpaper, which you can interact with. Touch ID 2 makes unlocking the iPhone even faster, and 3D Touch is something I actually do find myself using much more often than I thought I would when I first got the device. Finally, the moment you've been waiting for, my number 1 top Apple product of the year 2015 is the iPad Pro, even though it still hasn't arrived and is in the process of being delivered to me. Now, it has a 78% larger surface area than the iPad Air 2 and iPad Air, which makes it perfect for split-screen viewing. The 4 speakers make an incredibly rich sound experience, and the Apple Pencil works really well with it. The iPad itself is very light for its size, and the smart keyboard doesn't add that much bulk to it. Even if you aren't purchasing the iPad Pro for work or creativity purposes, it's still excellent for any media consumption, and reading iBooks is very enriching as the display is very sharp and holding the device is not actually that difficult, especially with the rounded edges. But anyway, that's it for this video. I've really enjoyed making videos in 2015, and I can't wait to see what Apple have to show us in 2016. Now, I will be doing videos on the iPad Pro and Apple Pencil as soon as they arrive, so do subscribe to be notified when those videos come out. I'm looking forward to putting out even more regular videos in 2016, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who has subscribed to the channel. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.